Hi everyone and welcome to Dystopian Simulation Radio. I'm your host Linz.
And I'm your host, Chris.
How's it going, Chris?
It is going pretty well. Busy week, but you know, it is always here in DSR HQ. I'm happy because the sun is out in England.
Ooh.
I heard it's out in Sweden as well.
Yeah.
Yes, just in time for you. You'll be repatriated soon.
Yep, coming back.
Thanks to, what do we call it over there? Swexit. You're going to get deported.
Swexit. So how's your week been?
I have had a busy week last week because I was coming back from a holiday. I was away in Spain visiting mi familia.
Ooh.
And yeah, it was nice. It was good fun. But when you're away with a 3-year-old, it's both joyous and tiring at the same time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you're just sort of, running around after a 3-year-old the entire time. When you go on holiday with children, you sort of realize you're like, wow, we've paid money to go abroad and stand in a park or go to a soft play. Wow, we couldn't have done that at home, could we?
Oh, did you not enjoy it? You must have enjoyed the sun.
Oh yeah, of course we did. We had a great time on the beach and building sandcastles and running away from the water and all that.
Yeah, digging holes and putting a beach towel over it and waiting for someone to fall in.
Exactly.
Classic.
Yeah.
I've just been to school, made a bit of an embarrassing discovery.
What's that?
Well, we have 2 bathrooms in the school building and in like multiple classrooms. And every time, I don't know if this is like weird to share, but every time I go in the bathroom, for some reason, I don't know if it's like part of my like OCD rituals or something, I start singing Rick Astley songs, but with like explicit lyrics. So I've been doing this like every time I go in there. I'm like,
Firstly, like I'm surprised you know more than one Rick Astley song.
Literally, it's just never going to give you up mostly.
Right, okay. And then like what are the lyrics like? Never gonna wipe my bum, never gonna take a shit, never gonna flush it down. Oh hell no.
Well, it could have got there. I think the last
We're
one
no strangers to shit.
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of like that, but not really. I think, what was it? We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, you stupid bitch. Like, it's just stuff like that. Like, it's stupid. But anyway, point is, I go in and I do this. And we had to go, our classroom's upstairs, and like we had to go to the downstairs classroom. And when I was in there, I realized that the walls are completely paper thin. And when anyone uses that bathroom, you can literally hear them breathe.
Oh.
You can hear every single thing. So the class that is in the downstairs classroom next to that bathroom hears everything anyone ever does. So I told like my other classmates, but hey, did you notice that you can hear like a man breathe when he goes to the toilet and we're in class? And they were like, yes, oh my God. And one student was like, I've been crying in there. Another one's like, I've been having like private phone calls in there. So we've all just been completely embarrassing ourselves while we thought we were in a private space. And a whole other class was listening to me singing
this is
Rick
a very
Astley.
important lesson because a lot of people, you make an assumption when you close a door that all sound is somehow magically stopped from leaving that.
And we have learned doing this podcast that is definitely not true.
Yeah, it really, really doesn't. I remember a place I used to, unfortunately, work. You would go into the supply closet, and you could just hear everything from the manager's office because the front of the office was soundproofed, but the sort of the like office tile ceilings, ones where you can like push the squares through. I don't know, and I don't know what they're for, but anyway, those do not block any sound. So all the sound just went up and down into the next room.
Oh, God. So you go in there to bitch about the boss, and you just be sitting there listening to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Well, next time that you go to the toilet, then I guess just maybe don't use Rick Astley to throw curses at people.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, that's my little story for this episode. What else do we need to do? Oh, yeah. If you guys want to see any of the visuals that go along with this episode, you can do so on Instagram at d.s.radio. That's also where you can message us. I'll say no more. And what can they do if they want to support us, Chris?
If you want to support us, then you can head over to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/dystopian simulation radio. And we must, of course, thank all of our Patreons. So thank you very much to Tony Taylor, Ethan Coughlin, Michael Cunliffe, Ehawk, Chris Lebowski, Patrice, Ordained Sinister Minister, Graves, Riff Cult, Cropley Crab, Cash Brodias, Jason R. Nelson, Creepy Paper, Jamie Sook, Lindsay Keller, Mike Wright, Kelsey Carruthers, Linz Gibson, Drake Halvig, Michael M., Wes Riaz, Emily Medeiros, The Toxic Avenger, Pip Marchi, and never forgetting Philip Hoffman.
Yay! I love hearing all those names every time.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, all of you, for all of your support. We say this every time, but we really genuinely do mean it. We've had some good feedback about this new software that we're using to record.
Yes.
Apparently people can actually hear us now, which is a big bonus.
It's a big bonus when you have a podcast.
It is. We took the human element out of it, and now machines are really kind of making sure the levels are good for us. But this software isn't free, so the Patreon contributions really help towards that going on, and all of the hosting and everything else that you don't actually realize is involved in keeping a podcast going.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you all for supporting us. And if anyone is listening and that you want to join, please go ahead and do it. We do have a lot of extra bonus episodes over there, or boner episodes as we call them, for reasons you'll find out if you join. All right, Chris, would you like to get into today's topic?
Absolutely. Where is it?
Well, first of all, Chris, over the years, we've covered various cases on the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
Hauntings, possessions, etc., etc. And each time we cover them, yes, and each time we cover them, I feel less and less convinced that ghosts are real, unfortunately. Do you feel the same? The more we cover, the more we debunk.
There's not a... Every time we do one of these, it kind of comes down to some evidence that somebody felt a cold chill, or they were asked to leave the room by the person who was communicating with the ghost. When they came back, there was a big thing in paint written on the wall that said, "Ooh, a ghost is here," and that person who claimed to convene with the ghost had paint all over their hands.
Yeah. Oh, the cuckoo clock.
There it is.
It's our favourite time of the episode, the cuckoo clock. So, I think we'll just have him in the background, okay? I like him.
Just keep you going.
All right, so.
Go on, Jeff.
In a last-ditch attempt, I am reaching into the annals of history to see if I can be convinced. So, Chris, take a trip with me to the 1800s and bring your coat, because we're headed to Nova Scotia, Canada, to a little town called Amherst. The following event...
I just put them away in the cupboard, man.
Yeah, same. Oh, coats. I looked at a coat today and I was like, you are useless to me for the next several months. Goodbye.
Yeah, you're dead to me.
So, the following events happened between 1878 and 1879. And the subject of the story is a teenager named Esther Cox. Such an unfortunate surname to have.
Sorry, say that one more time.
Esther Cox.
Esther Cox.
Yes. Cox.
Not Esther, but Esther.
Esther, apparently. Unfortunate surname to have. We actually had a teacher called Mrs. Cox in primary school, and you could honestly tell by the look that was cemented on her face every day that it was the worst name to have in her profession.
Like, why would you? You just take another name, wouldn't you? Like, there was genuinely the school I went to. There was a history teacher called Mark Hiscock.
You're kidding.
I am not kidding. And it was like, dude, this is a hill you don't need to die on.
There's a guy that I'm mutual with on Instagram, and his surname is Porn.
Like Porn,
Yeah,
not Pawn.
no, Porn.
Huh. I wonder what his parents did.
Chris.
It's the family business.
All right. So Esther lived in a house with her sister's family. Her sister was called Olive Teed, and her husband was called Daniel. Daniel worked as a foreman at the nearby shoe factory. And Olive, who was described as an all round lovely, hard-working woman, was a housewife. They had 2 kids together who were very young at the time. Willie was 5. Thankfully, he's Teed and not Cox. And George was just 1.
Right.
2 additional siblings of Esther and Olive also lived in the house, as well as one of Daniel's brothers, John. So one of the other siblings, Jane, sometimes referred to as Jenny, was 22. She was the sister of Esther and Olive, and was the most beautiful girl in the town, according to Walter Hubble, a Canadian actor who decided he was qualified to investigate this case and write an entire book on it, which I have read.
Yes.
So,
Please tell me that he was well known for appearing in plays where he was a detective and was like, "This is a job for me."
I have no clue what he starred in. I think he just sort of took work as he got it. So this for him was probably like, I don't want to say it was another job for him, but maybe. So
There's been murder most foul.
So Walter delightfully points out in his book that Esther is nowhere near as beautiful as Jane. Over and over and over again. Their brother, William Cox, who was a shoemaker as well, lived there, and he was a worker of Daniel. Then finally, there's John, the brother of Daniel, who was a farmer. They're not important, but I just need to express how many people lived in this house. Too many people lived in this house. If I recall correctly, it was 2 stories with only 4 bedrooms, and it was rented, and it had this amount of people in it. So let's take a look at old Walter here, and you can describe him to the listeners, Chris. All right, there we go. There's older Walter. He's the actor, and he's writing a book, and he even goes on to stay with them. So, main player.
I bet he does. I mean, he looks like a relatively respectful late 1800s gentleman. You know, he's got a pretty square jawline. He's got actor's eyebrows. He's got a receding hairline, getting a widow's peak. He very much looks the part of somebody who's going to walk onto stage and say, you know, just one more thing.
Chris, you are on fire with your descriptions tonight. All right.
Just one more thing. You told me that the boathouses at Cambridge were green, when we all know they are, in fact, blue.
All right, next up, we have the house. Actual picture of the house, not a sketch.
Oh, wow, cool. Well, this is a house.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, sorry, you wanted more than that. Right, this is a very Canadian house because it's covered in snow. It has got some foliage at the front. It doesn't look... This is quite a low quality picture, so I'm kind of leaning towards saying it looks derelict, but I think that's because they've got shutters over all the windows because of the cold.
I think it's because it was the 1800s.
Yeah, it's the 1800s. It does have a little picket fence, though, but it's not white because you wouldn't be able to see it in the snow.
Yeah.
Clever, those Canadians.
And also, you forgot to mention that it 100% looks like the type of house a poltergeist would frequent.
Absolutely, it does.
So, Esther Cox was 18 years old at the time of the happenings in 1871. Her mother died less than a month after Esther was born, and her father remarried multiple times and moved around. So she was raised by her grandma, and as a result was quite old-fashioned for someone so young. Walter said of her,
"She had always been a queer girl."
He described her as stout, with prominent eyebrows, pale skin, and grey eyes. Not as perfect and beautiful and super cool as Jane, who was a million times more beautiful and cool, by the way. Walter Hubble wrote, Chris, if you would read this.
Although Esther is not possessed of the beauty that Jane is famous for, there is something earnest, honest, and attractive about this simple-hearted village maiden that wins for her lots of friends of about her own age. In fact, she is quite in demand amongst the little children of the neighborhood, who are ever ready to have a romp and a game with Esther, as they all call her. The truth is that a great many of the grown-up inhabitants of the village call her Esther also, dropping the H entirely, a habit common in Nova Scotia.
Now, Chris, let's take a look at this plain beast of a woman.
Oh my God. Oh, she's hideous. She's hideous. Oh my God. She's her, well, I mean, her sister Jane must have been an absolute knockout because she's all right. Like,
Yeah, she's so pretty. Oh my gosh, Walter Hubble.
do we go on to have a picture of Jane?
Unfortunately, we don't.
Well, I'm just wondering if it's something like of the time that's stereotypical. Because I mean, she's got somewhat chiseled features.
Mm-hmm.
Does our Esther? So, like, I don't know if maybe that was not desirable at the time or something, but like you can only sort of get that in comparison by looking at this object of desire that Walter is drooling over.
It's so strange. Okay. So, in short, according to Walter, Esther was a little weirdo, apparently. God forbid someone has average looks in the 1800s. Esther had been dating this handsome local man who was also a shoemaker named Bob. Bob wasn't really liked by the family and was said to be known as a bit of a wrong'un locally. However, Esther was in love with him, basically. One rainy night that same year, after standing her up the night before, Bob shows up in a buggy with horses, and they went out together. Halfway through the journey, it was said that he jumped down from the buggy, demanded that she also get down, pointed a revolver at her chest in what has been described as an attempted rape. Another buggy approached, thank God, so we got back in and rode back to Esther's, where she got out and didn't say a word to anyone about this for several days.
Mm.
It was after this traumatic event that things in the home started to get, well, strange. It all began one night, 1 week after the event, with a sewing box under Esther's bed. The box flipped itself over multiple times as the girls watched and could not work out how it was happening. She shared a room with Jane, by the way, and a bed, I think, also. At first, they thought it was a mouse, but there was no mouse to be found. The following night, Esther became ill and went to bed early with a fever. An hour and a half later, Jane went to bed in their shared room and shared bed and was awoken by Esther screaming, "I'm dying, I'm dying." When Jane lit the lamp, she saw Esther standing red-faced, wearing a horrified expression, gripping onto a wooden chair, her eyes bulging in her head. The entire family rushed into the room and noticed that Esther became pale, screaming that she was bursting. Her skin was hot to the touch, and her hands were swollen. According to Walter Hubble's account, her whole body began to swell up. It became noticeably larger in size, and the room sounded like thunder was crashing in it. As soon as it happened, it was over. Esther's appearance returned to normal, and she fell into slumber, waking the next day completely normal. All right, Chris, first episode. What are you thinking?
I mean, that's quite a claim.
Yeah.
That she swelled up Augustus Gloop style,
Yeah.
and then those the sounds of crashing and thunder and all everything's going wrong, and then she just returns back to normal.
Yep.
And he still deems her to be ugly.
But yeah, I mean, swelling up, becoming red and swelled up, and that is something I've never heard in a case of this nature. Let's just say that.
That sounds more like a possession versus a haunting.
Possessed by what? Like a blobfish?
Yeah, have you been possessed by deep sea creatures?
That would be terrifying, actually.
It would for you.
Yeah, especially for me. Like a goblin shark or something. Oh my gosh. All right, so a few nights later, it happened again. As the lamp flickered in the darkness of the girls' shared bedroom, Esther screamed, and Jane awoke in time to see the bed sheets ripped from the bed by an unseen force fly across the room. After a few thunderously loud banging noises, seemingly from under the bed, Esther fell asleep again. After keeping the whole thing a secret out of fear of embarrassment, the family finally decided to call the local doctor.
I really hoped you were going to say the Ghostbuster.
Dr. Carrit. I think that's how you say it. So, he laughed at them and called them big stupid idiots and said they were talking nonsense. But not to turn away work. He said he'd come over that evening to see what was going down anyways, just have a little gander. At 10 p.m., Dr. Carrit walks in. He starts doing some basic checks on Esther and says she's suffering from nervous excitement. Diagnosable. And once there, the show promptly begins again with the pillow slap, which John catches mid-air because the whole family's in the room. So John, one of the brothers of Olive's husband, he gets slapped in the face with a pillow. He catches it mid-air. However, when he tried to hold on to it, it was reportedly being pulled with such a force that his hair stood on end when he tried to grapple with it. Then came the banging noises from under the bed, which, when inspected, showed there was seemingly nothing making them once again. The doctor walked towards the bedroom door, the banging noises hot on his heels, following him as he went, then a loud scratching, scraping noise on the wall. All eyes turned in direction of the sound to see the words, and Chris, you need to say this in your best, scary, demon voice.
Esther Cox, your man to kill.
No more goofy southern voices. Okay, best scary ghost voice.
Esther Cox. Can't say Cox. Esther Cox, your man to kill.
It's Canada.
Esther Cox, your mind to kill, eh?
Is that good enough for you guys? A chunk of the wall fell to the ground. The banging noises began to shake the entire room. Esther lay paralyzed with fear on the bed. The next morning, just as before, Esther came downstairs as normal, and the doctor was later shocked to see her helping Olive with the household chores as usual. Within seconds, the unseen force began pelting the doctor with potatoes. The doctor, in turn, prescribed Esther some sedatives and hoped for the best.
Fair enough.
This was the start of the happenings and the inception of what would come to be known as the Great Amherst Haunting. Chris, thoughts so far?
Oh, I thought it was going to be like the Great Potato. the
Potato ghost.
The Great Potato hurling or something.
All right, Chris, thoughts?
Okay, so this is interesting. It's
different.
Yeah, because with all the other cases, it's been very much like things that you can potentially fake quite easily. You know, like even when we're talking about a young girl putting a deep voice on, you know, and then we find out later that they have a talent for ventriloquism or whatever like this. There's always an out for these things. Oh, there was somebody else in the room who was moving things or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to people witnessing a physical transformation of somebody, they're swelling up, turning red. Well, unless this is being grossly exaggerated, that's very hard to fake. It's very hard to fake like a physical transformation.
Although,
like
if
that.
if you really want to, you can make yourself go really red. Like when I was a kid, I could do that. I don't remember how, but you know what I'm talking about, right? You clench your fists and you're like...
if you like hold your breath and you try and like force blood into your head and you're like, you know, whatever. Yeah, you can do that, but it sounds a bit different what this is. That's why I said unless they're grossly exaggerating what was going on. My only thought is unless it's like a self-induced anaphylactic shock, like reaction or something, and there's swelling associated with it. But I don't know. That seems a bit out there. Like, I don't know. Oh, hey, I'm gonna swallow a bunch of peanuts now, and let's just see what happens. I mean, I had an allergic reaction, which has a very, like you can tell if it's happening. But again, it's more internalized than externalized. I don't know. If you just like, I don't know, swallowed a bunch of peanuts or something, I'm just like, aha, screw my beautiful sister. I'm gonna show them that ghosts are real.
But it came and went pretty quick.
I mean, reactions can come and go, but it would have to be something quite. Yeah, I don't know, man. If it's as described, but we don't have any evidence that it was as described, then this is quite a transformation. But how much of this is theatrics from the actor?
Yeah, exactly. And I was also thinking, like, it's happening at nighttime in the 1800s, and it seems like they're lighting either like a little lamp or a candle or something. So that really gives you a lot of room to chuck stuff and have no one notice. Or like throw your bed sheets and go,
Yeah,
I'm dying. Like you could like definitely scare Jane and your family members who rush into the room in the middle of the night, half
yeah.
sleepy, in like dimly lit corner of tiny bedroom in this house, and maybe sort of, yeah.
Not to mention as well that there wasn't the kind of exposure to pop culture ghosts, poltergeists that we are now. I mean, it would have been truly horrifying if and more easily suggestible. We can come up with all kinds of ideas, but then again, we were raised on Ghostbusters and everything else,
Yeah.
so we can pick the thing apart quite
They
easily.
do have their own theory later that is not what you'd expect, but we'll get to that. So, just like the Battersea haunting, the house became extremely noisy to the point where passers-by would notice. The banging noises were so loud that the building almost shook in its foundations, which is something that we see over and over again with these cases, Chris.
Mm.
3 weeks after the doctor's initial visit, and around 1 month after Bill the Wrong'un held Esther up at gunpoint, Esther has an episode wherein she, in a seemingly possessed state that left her paralyzed, unmoving, and cold to the touch, told the doctor and the family all about what happened that night with Bill. So she'd never spoken about it since she came back. And a month later, she gets in this possessed state and she confesses everything that happened. When she came around again, they questioned her about it, and she confirmed, yep, that's all true. All her sister Olive could say is basically, I told you so. So what were people thinking at the time? How did they rationalize this? We talked about, how we instantly go to demons, possessions, ghosts, blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
So many people around them believed that she and her family had been fabricating this seemingly supernatural events, which is quite like level-headed for a bunch of old-timey church-going people, actually. But there's another theory out there that the events of the night of the ordeal had turned her into some kind of a electric battery. So
Right.
this passage from the book might give us some clarity, Chris, if you could just read it to the people.
Of course. I guess we're all big Oasis fans.
Yeah.
He, however, was of the opinion that through the shock her sister had received the night she went riding, she had become, in some mysterious manner, an electric battery. His theory being that invisible flashes of lightning left her person, and that the knocks which everybody could hear distinctly were simply minute claps of thunder.
Opinions?
Okay. So, what? So this is like at the time, 1800s. I'm not sure of the exact timeline of it, but I do know that it was a lot newer of a technology than batteries are now.
Mm-hmm.
The idea to us now of somebody becoming a battery seems absurd. I mean, obviously your body is a battery in a certain sense, but not really in the sense that they're talking about here. Like, as much as we want to, you can't just like hook yourself up to a bunch of double A's and be like, haha, I'm going to shoot lightning from my fingers like Palpatine.
I was about to say, they're describing her like either Palpatine or Pikachu.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, I mean, if you can do that, good on you. But it seems quite a jump to be like, aha, she had a horrible experience and the trauma caused her to become a battery.
Yeah, I guess that maybe it's a bit more poetical. Like, she was full of this like negative energy that had to like get out, and so it's like just coming out of her without, against
This
her
is
will.
very much like an early version of the wronged woman, though.
Yeah,
That this kind of falls into that narrative. You see it again, with Yurei in Japanese ghost culture, or even in the more modern day with movies like Carrie.
yeah,
For
exactly.
example, the girl who is mistreated in one way or another and somehow gains mysterious powers and can use those against people who have mistreated her, like her sister, for being so much more beautiful because she's so ugly.
Yeah, but like they do kind of write like that. And then like the one guy she liked, they were all like, "Oh, he's terrible, he's a wrong'un." And she was just maybe naive, which is not her fault. She was only 18. She went out with him and the worst happened, So she probably did feel really angry, and I don't know. That definitely does something to you psychologically, but I don't think it turns you into a human battery.
It's certainly a theory. I'm not going to go any further than that, though.
Yeah. So a couple of reverends got in on this. They wanted to have a little look at it, and Hubble said that when accompanied by Reverend R.A. Temple of the local Wesleyan church, at the house, that is, they both witnessed a bucket of cold water in the kitchen come to a boil just by itself. The story spread, and naturally, people began to gather in and around the home, hoping to get a look of the action. Wild theories were going around, such as the conspiracy that Esther could mesmerize people to make them collectively hear and see things that weren't there, like a stubby warlock. I don't think that's the case. Were they accusing her of being a witch or like a spiritualist kind of medium or something? I have no idea. But that was one of the theories, like, oh, she is doing this. She's making us see and hear things that aren't really there, and she's sort of controlling everything. Dangerous rumor to have floating around about you at the time, to be honest. So the manifestations only came when Esther was there in the house. Like, they only happened in the house when she was there, and mostly after she had already gone to bed, so at nighttime. Although they did eventually start to happen in the day. So Dr. Carrot was as much use as a chocolate fire poker, but he continued to tune in to the poltergeist show over at the Cox house and just watch shit go down. Esther continued to feed the storyline and contracted diphtheria. All paranormal activity stopped during this time. She remained poltergeist-free for a while after she got well again, and she went to stay at the house of another sister for a couple of weeks. So at this point, they had gone a month without paranormal activity. Once back at the house, however, things kicked into overdrive. It's important to note that despite my poltergeist references, the family didn't believe that there were ghosts or spirits involved in what was happening, which is not what we're used to hearing in these cases, Chris. They genuinely subscribed to the doctor's theory that it was something to do with electricity. Don't ask him to expand on that. It's just electricity's fault. So
newfangled electricity. I do everything by candlelight. My father was a candle maker.
My father was a candle.
Bloody electricity. My father was a candle, and my mother was a flame.
That's beautiful, Chris. So it amps up even more.
And I am but the wax for
No. Okay. So it amps up even more. One night, Esther tells her family that she's been hearing voices from a being that, quote, once lived on Earth, but now is dead. And this voice threatened to burn down the house. The family laughed and said there's no such thing as ghosts. They started bickering, but the argument suddenly came to a silence when a lit match seemingly manifested from nowhere, dropped from the ceiling of the bedroom, falling onto the bed. Jane patted it to extinguish the flame. A dozen lit matches rained down onto the bed, all of which are quickly put out. But if they weren't, I guess that ghost would have set the house on fire. The following day, the basement went up in flames, originating from a wooden barrel that was stored down there. A mysterious man responded to Olive's screams for help. He walked right in off the street, extinguished the fire with a mat that he found in the kitchen, and left the house without a word, never to be seen again. Ooh.
Oh.
The local firefighters, however, believed that Esther had started all the fires and that she was the common denominator in all of it. Yeah. So, thoughts? Thoughts on fire? Fire ghost, fire electricity, fire Esther.
Well,
she was in the kitchen when the fire in the basement broke out. I can say that.
you see, this is where it's without an accomplice. It pretty much leads us to, was there an accomplice? Was Jane in on it? Was because so you can't literally start a fire in another room when you're not there unless you've got some sort of really, really, really elaborate setup, and somebody would have clocked it with them setting it up with that many people in the house.
Yeah.
So it only leads to one of two scenarios. Either she's a paranormal battery fire starter, or
a twisted fire starter,
or she had an accomplice. So I mean, I'm at this point leaning towards one of the other people in the home was helping.
Well,
her
to quash that,
for unknown reasons.
Yeah, to quash that, all the others were at work. I think it was just her and Olive and maybe the little kids. There was like a 1-year-old, but I don't think he's in on it. Who knows? But
Right, well, I mean, that kind of helpfully narrows it down to Olive.
I have no clue, but it was a rental, so I don't think she wants to burn someone's rental down. I don't know. Maybe they were having like a landlord dispute. But anyway, is it possible, right, that you just... if you wanted to do this, could you just go down into the basement? I think this barrel had there's odds and ends in it, like shavings. I don't know what it was, but it was obviously very flammable.
Oh no, my shavings!
My shavings! My shavings are ablaze. But yeah, I was thinking, right, couldn't you just light something, a bit of wood, a bit of paper, I don't know, put it in there, go upstairs, and maybe the material in there is so dense that it actually takes a while to like set on fire?
Yeah.
And then the smoke would probably take a while to be detected if you had the door closed. And then maybe she did it and then went back upstairs, started doing chores, and 20 minutes later, oh, there's a blaze down there. Who could have done that?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely do that.
Because the firefighters seem to blame her, so maybe they saw something that indicated that a person had deliberately started a fire. They saw a lot of fires, I assume, so... they knew a deliberate one, an accidental one.
I feel that's fairly safe to say, Linz. The firefighters saw a lot of fires.
I don't know what 1800s firefighters were like. They could have just had a tin bucket.
Well, they looked different in my day. They didn't look like they do now.
Yeah, but now you can kind of... I mean, I guess you can always tell where a fire started, I suppose. But whatever. Shut up.
They wouldn't have had the forensic ability. No.
I don't even know if they had a hose.
We just turned up and looked at it until it went out. Being Canadian, we just got a bunch of beavers to beat their tails.
Hang on.
Unfortunately, that just fanned the flames.
What equipment did 1800s firefighters have? Canada. No. Yep, they... steam fire engines, horse-drawn apparatus. Okay, I take it all back.
They probably had like big barrels of water.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's about as good a working theory as we have.
And what about Mystery Man, Mystery Hero, who just walks out and doesn't say anything?
Yeah, but I mean, what exactly? So he just what? Hit me with this bit again. There's so much information to process on this particular case.
Oh, I know. Literally, a man, they shouted for help, fire. Mystery Man walks in off the street, grabs a mat from the kitchen, goes to the basement, extinguishes the fire, and leaves without a word.
Okay.
Silent hero.
Well, I mean, he's just a good Samaritan.
Did it happen? Who knows?
I mean, this is a bit like, Little Red Riding Hood with the woodcutter passing by just at the right moment.
Yeah, I mean, did it happen? Sounds a bit weird. You know everyone in the village, but the guy who helps you put it out was a mystery man no one had ever seen and never saw again. Okay, so many people obviously suspected that Esther was responsible for it all. Another doctor even suggested that a good beating would end the paranormal activity pretty quickly.
Can I just double check? Has anyone suggested beating the woman?
Beating the teenager?
Well, of course, it was the first thing we suggested. Oh, good, I just wanted to check.
So, Esther did
Could we maybe beat her again? But with sticks, Reginald. That's why we pay you.
So, Esther did eventually see a ghost. No one else was able to, but she did.
Oh.
She saw it one night when the family were gathered in the parlor. And she said, got a quote here, Chris. Well,
Oh, look, a ghost.
I don't know if we can call it a quote. It's just Walter Hubble's retelling. Here we go.
Look there. Look there. My God, it is the ghost. Don't you all see him? There he stands all in grey. See how his eyes are glaring at me, and how he laughs when he says, I must leave the house tonight, or he will start a fire in the loft under the roof and burn us all to death. Oh, what shall I do? Where shall I go? The ground is covered with snow, and yet I cannot remain here, for he will do what he threatens. He always does. Oh, I wish I were dead.
I don't know who you morphed into at the end, Chris.
I think it was C3PO. I think I'm off to do it. Oh, I wish I were dead.
I thought it sounded familiar. So Daniel tells Esther, listen, this ghost is pretty true to his word, so you better skedaddle. And remember, it's not me kicking you out. It's Satan. So nobody wanted the creepy haunted teenager lodging with them. Well, no one except one Mr. and Mrs. White, who were intrigued by the whole thing. They agreed to take Esther in for 2 weeks at their place, and all was quiet. Mrs. White actually enjoyed having Esther there. Then, on week 3, the grey ghost reared its ugly head. Things began disappearing, reappearing, classic poltergeist pastime. And then, for a couple of weeks, he just played guessing games with the family, like guessing how much money they had in their pockets by knocking on a bit of wood, etc. He soon grew tired of that and went back to his fire-starting, pyromaniac ways that he loved so much, with a bit of added tomfoolery. He also stabbed Esther in the back with one of the White's children's pocket knives.
Okay.
The son retrieved the pocket knife from Esther's back, cleaned it off, returned it to his pocket, only for it to fly out again and back into the same wound.
Oh. I mean, this is all sounding very paranormal, unusual, possibly battery related.
Batteries, eh? So the ghost graduated to heating up metal, moving extremely heavy objects, and performed these feats in Mr. White's saloon business. People came to see the wonders on show. It was kind of like a restaurant. People would eat there and they'd watch shit flying around, knives sticking in teenage girls, what have you. Esther was investigated by a group of scientists who went through the same routine of communicating with a ghost and watching it move shit around as it did. It was this group that were able to put names to the ghost, which turns out was actually several ghosts.
Oh, a whole gaggle of ghosts.
A gaggle of ghosts. So, Peter Cox, he was related to Esther apparently, Maggie Fisher, and the fire starter himself, Bob Nickel, who was once a shoemaker. I mean, who wasn't in that town, to be honest?
Yeah, true. Can I just jump in with a tiny bit of information?
Yes.
So...
Were you a shoemaker?
No, sorry. So I just was wondering what the collective noun for ghosts is.
Ooh.
There's no official one. The last one is my favorite one. So here's some ideas. So a whisper of ghosts, a spectre of ghosts, an apparition of ghosts, a haunting of ghosts, a phantasm of ghosts, a wraith of ghosts, a spook of ghosts, an ephera of ghosts, and afraid of ghosts.
That's fucking fantastic. Thanks, Chris.
Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah. So Peter. So we have the ghosts: Peter Cox, Maggie Fisher, and Bob Nickel, who was the wrong un. Peter said that he tried to rein in Maggie and Bob, who were both complete nutters, to no avail. Well, we've all got friends like that, to be honest. So these scientists used a kind of a Ouija board method to communicate and garner all this info. Hubble, who's the author of the book and the actor that tells the story, includes a short diary at the end of this book describing his stay at Esther's home. It is batshit from the minute he walks through the door. Just a relentless throwing of things, including an object that actually hit him full force in the head, causing injury. And a silver trumpet manifested after the family had been hearing trumpet sounds all day long. Like maybe they had a trumpet. In the book he says that he took this trumpet that manifested and displayed it somewhere, but I could not find for the life of me where he displayed it. In his house? I don't know. He just got a trumpet from the house. So he ends the book. Reader, a word. This account of the quote-unquote haunted house in which Esther Cox suffered so much and the author had such a remarkable experience is no fanciful creation of the imagination, but really what it is claimed to be, a true ghost story.
Oh.
What became of Esther? So eventually she returned to Amherst, where she worked for a man by the name of Arthur Davidson. Davidson's barn burned down pretty soon after Esther arrived there, and he of course blamed her, and she was actually convicted of arson and spent a month in the slammer. She was initially sentenced to 4, but was released very early. Why? We don't know, but I fucking wish we did. I wonder if the poltergeists were in the prison with her. That would be amazing.
Because she was so ugly, they couldn't bear it anymore. They had to let it go.
Yeah, they were like, this beast deserves to be caged, but then they just couldn't stand looking at her anymore. So a short stint in prison seemed to exorcise the demons, and there were no other paranormal incidents, or otherwise, after that. She was married twice, had a son to each husband, and passed away at the age of 52 in 1912. So Hubble's motives have been questioned. People who look into the case think that he was out to make some quick cash, and I suppose it could be argued so because he did sell tens of thousands of books and also attempted to take Esther and her ghost gang on tour. The tour was cut short. It didn't work out because the ghost gang got stage fright and the audience got hostile. So they nipped that in the bud. So let's end on a snippet of a report published from the American Society for Scientific Research. This was published in the Evening Mail on March 16th, 1922. And I will let you read this, Chris.
The Great Amherst Mystery astonished the whole country and attracted attention over in England more than 40 years ago. Our present knowledge of it depends mostly on a book by Walter Hubble, an actor who was in the house during a portion of the period of activity. Objects flew about, but no one ever saw them start. Chairs fell over, but not when squarely in view. Objects were apparently thrown at Hubble, to his great alarm, but he seemed to take pains to not quite hit him. Pins were found sticking in the girl's flesh, but such acts are often self-inflicted by persons afflicted with that strange mental malady, hysteria. At last, only 2 years ago, the mainly biographical facts which Hubble naively set down about Esther Cox were analysed in the light of abnormal psychology and left no room for doubt that hers was a case of dual personality. I had the advantage of my first-hand study of the now classical Doris case of multiple personality and my book study of the other recorded cases of the kind, and found an abundance of statements in the book which, taken together, made a demonstration which I think no psychologist would dispute. It was Esther's hands which performed the acts with uncanny craftiness in a state for which she was not responsible and which she could not remember. At length, she was caught burning a barn and sent to jail because there was no one to convince the jury that she was not responsible.
Ooh. So they're saying it's all bullshit, but they're also saying she may have had some kind of condition.
Yeah. Like, she did it, but it wasn't her fault.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite kind and also not at the same time. So that was their conclusion.
Yeah.
But what is our conclusion, Chris? First of all, what do you think of the story? And second of all, what is your conclusion?
So I liked the story.
Yep.
I liked the story very much. It was very interesting. And I think it's the closest that we've come to a convincing story, I think. But this is when it all started falling apart with the fact that, yeah, she was later convicted of starting fires. And then it's like, okay, so clearly she was doing it somehow. Like you said, maybe she was, lighting some kindling and then running away and, having a cup of tea and then going, oh, look, a fire.
Yeah. I think it's quite easily faked is the issue. Like I said, to do things in a dimly lit room in the dark. And I don't like the writing on the wall. If it's dark, you could do the writing beforehand. The doctor comes in, you make a scratching sound, and then you shine the little flickering lamp on the wall and go, "Oh my god, there's something written there." You can see how you could do that. It's not out of the realm of possibility to fake it. And things being thrown. I mean, there was so many people in that damn house. There's no way you could have eyes on all of them at the same time. And I don't know. I just feel like if you're looking one way and someone slides a chair from the other way, in a split second when you turn around, the person who did it is gone. So I do think there's just so many ways of faking all of that stuff. Why they did it, I don't know. I mean, the whites who took her into their saloon, maybe they thought they'd get some more customers. There's a motive.
True.
Yeah, and Hubble, he probably made money from his books and probably boosted his career in some way. So,
but why did she start doing it in the first place? That's the question.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe she just did. Maybe it was a trauma thing.
It
maybe
might
she
be a
couldn't
trauma thing, but
bring herself to say what had happened and that everyone was right about the guy, and maybe she freaked out a bit, and I don't know.
I also
don't
think, though,
speculate.
this suggestion about the multiple personalities is about as much of a scapegoat as the whole battery thing, because schizophrenia is very different from that, how it's portrayed in movies, for example. I'm not saying there aren't cases where people have multiple personalities, and this does happen, but it's so incredibly rare, but pops up so incredibly frequently as an excuse in...
Yeah, I think it's called DID now.
DID?
Yeah.
Okay, well...
Dissociative identity disorder, I think it's called. I can't remember. Don't quote me on that.
Well, I'm not sure, but I do know that it's not as you see in the movies. It's not the whole...
No.
Yeah.
Like that movie Split. Is that what you're referring to? Oh
that
my
sort
God,
of thing.
yeah.
Or like, where the detective was the murderer all the time because he didn't know it because he had blackout periods.
It is a cop-out excuse.
Yeah. It's something that's, a literary or, cinematography. I can't even get my words out.
Same. I'm tired as hell.
It's unlikely. It's unlikely that's what happened.
Agree.
But I have to call shenanigans on this one. I'm afraid we're no closer.
Yeah. I so badly wanted to believe after this one because I was like, it's an older case. I didn't read through it all before I started researching, and I was like, I'm going to put my faith in this. It's going to make me believe again. But once again, the more cases that we look into, the less I'm convinced that ghosts are real, which really hurts childhood me.
Yeah, I think ghosts are... one thing I heard on, I can't remember what it was. It was one of those like living TV after 9 o'clock ghost things. I don't know if it was like Ghost Hunters or Derek Acora or whatever. But it was something that was trying to claim that bricks have a property where they work like a tape recorder.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a well-known theory. I know what you mean.
like
The
so
walls record things and play them back.
if there's a
Mhm.
particularly traumatic event that takes place, kind of that energy gets absorbed by the bricks, and then it's played over again and again. I mean, it's wholly ridiculous, but I like it as a theory.
It's good in movies.
Yeah, it's a fun way of explaining why it's happening.
I mean, there's nothing to back it up, but it's very creative.
But then again, have we ever had anything to back up anything on this podcast?
Excuse me, Fresno night crawlers, Chris.
Oh, sorry. All the evidence I did
what more do you want?
I did bring a lot of footage for that. Yeah. That's it. When you have the paranormal, evidence is the enemy of the paranormal. At the end of the day, it's very. We want to believe. We're
trying to believe.
Skeptical believers. We want to believe, but it's just we're really struggling to believe this.
So fucking hard.
Yeah.
I really do. Like, if anyone, like any listeners out there, if you're still with us at the end of this podcast right now, if you have a paranormal case that you think will convince us,
please,
just send it in. Just let us know. Drop us a DM, d.s.radio on Instagram, and let us know. We just want one that has evidence that's really convincing, maybe witnesses, maybe media that goes along with it, anything like that. If you have any case where you think this is the one that will make them believe, please let us know, and we will cover it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, Linz, thank you very much for presenting this today. It's been a very interesting case.
It's been a blast.
Unfortunately, it's not one that's convinced me, but I'm here waiting to be convinced. So if you, like, as Lynn said, if you've got a case, please send it in. But Lynn, thank you very much for telling us all about this today.
You are welcome, Chris. And I will see you in person, Chris,
very soon. That sounds like a threat.
It does, doesn't it?
I'll see you in person.
I always show up with a plant, so you don't have to be that scared. Sometimes cakes.
I do like plants. I've got a lot of them. Ooh, did I tell you I've got a Venus flytrap?
I have too. I love it.
It's great.
Yeah.
But now I want to move on, and I'm like, I want some pitcher plants.
Pitcher plants? What are they?
They're like, like weeping bell.
Oh, okay. Can we get them in the EU?
Yeah.
Can we get them in Europe? Sorry.
We can get them in Europe. We can get them in the UK. You can get them.
Okay, I've got your present covered for next month then.
Okay, there you go. I just I don't know. I quite like the idea of plants that do something.
Yes, agree.
They
all
plants.
do something. You're like, entertain me.
Entertain me. It's not good enough that you make delicious oxygen.
I can only keep African plants because they need less water. So.
Oh, right. Okay.
They survive longer with me.
Good old snake plants. Well.
All right. Thank you for listening, everyone. And I hope you enjoyed it, Chris.
I certainly did. And we'll see you next time. And just remember, everyone out there, ghosts might be ghosts, but they might also be because you're a battery. Yes. Bye.
Bye.